Get ready for a quick quest guide for the Defeating the Culinaromancer part of Recipe for Disaster, in which the main rewards for completing are a 20,000 experience lamp that can be used on any skill over 50, full access to the Culinaromancer's chest including the awesome Barrows gloves, and 1 quest point. You'll need to have completed all of the other Recipe for Disaster subquests before taking on this one, as well as Desert Treasure 1 and Horror from the Deep. Plus, you'll need to have at least 175 quest points in total as well. Now, while there are technically no required items, there's a lot of rather essential recommended ones. And this is because this finale for Recipe for Disaster simply consists of 6 one-on-one boss fights that you can't use prayer for at all. Note that despite the prayer restriction, you are allowed to bank between each boss fight. When it comes to recommended items for the fights, you'll want your best melee, magic, and ranged armor, as well as your best weapon for each of these styles. When it comes to melee, having a crush, stab, and slash weapon is helpful. Also, if you plan on relying on ranged a lot, then in addition to a bow and arrows, having a crossbow and bolts is also helpful, although it's not essential. On top of this, you'll want your ice gloves, which are very helpful against one of the bosses. Now I'm showing on screen all the armor and weapons that I plan on using or think you could really benefit from using, while also keeping the gear at a relatively obtainable level for where you'll likely be in your RuneScape journey. This being said, substitute things out as you see fit, whether that be opting for better or slightly worse gear. Now let's look at runes, and you'll want runes to cast all elemental spells and additionally snare spells as well. You'll want around 300 death or blood runes depending on whether you'll be casting blast or wave spells, 200 nature runes, and 1,500 of each elemental rune should more than cover you. If you're using wave spells but your magic level is below 81, then I'd also suggest 100 death runes. And alternatively, if your magic level is below 65, then I'd also suggest having 100 chaos runes too. When it comes to potions, you'll want potions to boost your combat styles, namely combat or super combat potions for attack, strength, and potentially defense or super defense potions for defense, and additionally ranging potions for ranged. Having 2 of each will cover you. You'll also want either 1 Mana Fight Remedy potion and 1 Restore potion, or alternatively 4 to 5 Restore potions to help deal with the bosses that drain your stats. Know that a combination of Mana Fight Remedy and Restore potions is preferred here though. On top of this, you'll want around 100 or so pieces of high healing food such as karambwans, sharks, or tuna potatoes. Finally, having an emergency teleport for each fight is also handy, however know that you can also just leave through the white portals in the boss's chamber at any time, so you shouldn't really need to use these. Now we're going to get ready for the first fight against Agrith-Na-Na, who's based on Agrith-Na from the Shadow of the Storm quest. This boss has a max hit of 16 and attacks with melee if you're in melee range, or magic if you're at a distance. I'd suggest a melee setup for this boss, though ranged also works if you have a much better range level. This being said, you don't want to be using magic because of the boss's high magical attack and defense. If you're using range, then prioritize a crossbow with bolts over a regular short bow and arrows, as this boss has slightly less defense against heavy range, making a crossbow more effective. If you're using melee, then prioritize a crush weapon such as a dragon mace because the boss is comparatively weaker against crush than slash or stab. This being said, something like a dragon scimitar will likely still see you through okay. Once you've geared up, simply fill your inventory with any relevant combat boosting potions, a heap of food, and your emergency teleport, and then you're good to go. A reminder that you can't use any prayer during these fights and that progress is saved after each of the 6 bosses are defeated. For this fight, simply drink your combat boosting potions and enter through the white portal into the boss room, and before long Agrith-Na-Na will spawn and take you on. This is a very straightforward fight. Agrith's attacks are relatively accurate, so you'll likely need to eat quite a bit. All in all though, it's a very basic fight with the boss mostly using melee. Simply attack the boss, eat as needed, and before too long you should defeat it. When Agrith is defeated, you'll want to exit out of the white portal and get ready for the second fight. Now we're going to get ready for the second fight against Flambeed, who is based on Fareed from the Desert Treasure quest. This boss has a max hit of 25 and attacks with melee and occasionally magic when in melee range. Like Fareed, you'll need to be wearing ice gloves, as being attacked by Flambeed will unequip your weapon if you're not wearing them. Finally, know that this boss has a 50% water spell weakness. Because of this and his strong attacks, I'd suggest a magic setup for this boss utilizing your best water spell as well as snares. For this, you'll want blood or death runes, nature runes, air runes, water runes, and earth runes. You'll also want to have equipped a decent magic staff, your best magic armor, and your ice gloves. Now, while you can alternatively opt for a melee setup with a crushed weapon, know that this will make for a much more difficult fight. If using melee, then absolutely make sure that you're wearing your ice gloves. Once you're all geared up, simply double check that you have the required runes and then fill the rest of your inventory with any relevant combat boosting potions, a heap of food, and your emergency teleport. And then you're good to go. For this fight, check that you have your best water spell set to autocast, drink your relevant potions, and simply enter through the white portal into the boss room. Before long, Flambeed will spawn to take you on. As soon as Flambeed spawns, you'll want to instantly snare the boss before then putting as much distance between you and the boss as you can and attacking with your best water spell. After about 3 hits, Flambeed will break free from the snare, and you'll want to re-snare the boss while keeping your distance before again attacking with water spells. Then it's just a case of rinse and repeat until you defeat Flambeed, but know that he does have 210 hit points, so it can take a little while to defeat him. When you finally take him out, make your way over to a white portal, wait for his death to complete, and then exit the room as quickly as possible before Karamel spawns and starts being annoying. Now we're going to get ready for the third fight against Karamel, who's based on Camille from the Desert Treasure quest. This is one of the more challenging bosses, who hits with a very inaccurate ranged attack that can hit up to 20 and magic attacks that can hit rapid 7s when you're at a distance. Note that Karamel will only do their ranged attack if you're in melee distance. Now, the ranged attacks are less of a threat simply because they're ridiculously inaccurate. This being said, also know that Karamel will drain your stats, your prayer points, your run energy, and your special attack energy. The good news though is that Karamel is relatively weak to magic and has a 40% fire spell weakness, and because of this, a magic setup with fire spells is preferred. This being said, because she'll drain all of your stats, including your magic level, you'll need to choose a fire spell that you're a bit over leveled for so that you don't get caught out no longer having the level to cast it mid-fight. So for example, while Fire Blast requires 59 magic, if you're under level 65 magic, then I'd opt for Firebolt instead. For this, you'll want either Blood, Death, or Chaos runes, Air runes, and Fire runes. You'll also want to have equipped a decent magic staff and your best magic armor. Now, to restore your stats as they're drained during the fight, you'll want around 4 to 5 restore potions, or alternatively 1 restore potion and 1 Menophyte remedy potion. Restore potions restore stats when drunk, while a Menophyte remedy potion will be drunk 1 time and continue to restore stats every 15 seconds for 5 minutes. Know that Karamel has relatively high melee and ranged defenses, and so I really wouldn't recommend a melee or range setup for this. Once you're all geared up, simply double check you have the required runes for fire spells and either a Menophyte remedy and 1 restore potion, or alternatively 4 to 5 restore potions, and then fill the rest of your inventory with a heap of food and your emergency teleport, and then you're good to go. For this fight, check that you have your chosen fire spell set to autocast and drink a dose of any combat boosting potions. Then simply enter through the white portal in the boss room, and before long, Karamel will spawn to take you on. Instantly drink a dose of your Menophyte remedy potion if you have one, and run over to Karamel so that you're within her melee range, which will stop her from bombarding you with her attack that deals rapid 7s. Then park yourself next to her and attack with fire spells. You'll still be hit with rapid inaccurate attacks, as well as an ice block attack that will drain your stats and interrupt your attacks. So re-attack Karamel when you're hit with this, and drink restore potions as necessary to keep your magic level nice and high. Then it's just a case of sitting next to Karamel and continuing to attack with magic, clicking to re-attack if your attacks are interrupted, restoring your stats with your restore potions, and eating food as needed. Overall, with the right approach, this fight isn't too difficult. And once you defeat Karamel, simply head on over to a white portal and exit the room. Now we're going to get ready for the 4th fight against Dessourt, who's based on Dessourt from the Desert Treasure quest. This boss has a max hit of 19 and attacks with a fast melee attack and additionally a magic attack that always hits 5. Notably in terms of melee, he's very resistant to both slash and crush, but he's weak to the stab style as well as all forms of ranged. Despite having no elemental weakness, he's also pretty weak to magic attacks as well. I would highly recommend using a melee setup with a stab weapon, such as a dragon sword, longsword, or dagger, or alternatively using ranged alongside some armor with decent defenses to help tank Dessourt's attacks. While using magic is an option, I'd avoid it simply because you'll likely have much worse defenses and you run the risk of Dessourt shredding you rather quickly. Once you're all geared up, fill your inventory with any relevant combat boosting potions, a heap of food, and your emergency teleport, and then you're good to go. For this fight, check that any melee weapons you're using are set to their stab attack styles. Drink your combat boosting potions, and then enter through the white portal. Instantly Dessourt will spawn and teleport over to you before attacking you. All you need to do is simply attack back, making use of your special attacks to get in some extra damage. Just be warned because the fast melee hits and the magic chip damage can add up, so keep your health nice and high as you fight Dessourt. But otherwise there isn't too much to say. Eat your food, attack Dessourt, kill Dessourt, and after Dessourt's defeated then leave through the white portal. Now we're going to get ready for the 5th fight against the Gelatinnoth Mother, who's based on the Dagonoth Mother from the Horror from the Deep quest. This boss is by far the toughest of the lot. It can deal melee hits up to 9, but it really just attacks with a dual ranged and magic attack that hits you at the same time. Each of these attacks can individually deal up to 20 damage, and so it effectively has a max hit of 40. On top of this, just like the Dagonoth Mother from Horror from the Deep, the Gelatinnoth Mother's color will change, indicating what it can be damaged by. If it's white, then it can be damaged with air spells, blue water spells, orange melee, brown earth spells, red fire spells, and green ranged. Because of this, you're going to want attack methods for all 6 of these attack styles. That means a magic staff as well as blood or death runes, air, water, earth, and fire runes, plus a melee weapon and a ranged weapon with some arrows, or if you're using a crossbow then some bolts. When it comes to armor, your priority is a decent magic attack damage, seeing as you'll be attacking with magic in 4 out of the 6 stages. Know that you'll also want to have a decent magic and ranged defense to help block the dual ranged and magic hits that can be very deadly. For this, a mix of Mystic and Dragonhide with a defensive shield and helm is ideal. Your magic attack will be good enough with this, and importantly, you'll need the decent defenses. Once you're geared up, then ensure you've got your runes for all 4 elemental damage spells as well as your ranged and melee weapons. Then fill the rest of your inventory with relevant combat boosting potions, a heap of high healing food, and your emergency teleport, and then you're good to go. For this fight, start with your staff equipped and your spell set to your best air spell. Drink your relevant combat boosting potions and then enter through the white portal. Instantly, the Gelatinnoth Mother will spawn and attack you, and you'll want to attack with air spells as long as the boss remains white. Also at all times, keep an eye on your health and eat when your health gets below around 40 or 50, depending on your max health and how much your food heals. When the Gelatinnoth Mother changes to blue, then attack with water spells, and it's up to you if you change the auto cast or just manually cast water spells. Do whatever is easiest for you, just keep one eye on your health at all times. When the Gelatinnoth Mother turns orange, equip your melee weapon and attack with melee, and after it then turns brown, swap back to your staff and attack with earth spells. I do want to flag that while I make this look somewhat easy here, when I did this on my test account that's a fair bit weaker, I used up almost all of my food. so expect the fight as a whole to be a bit challenging if you're lower leveled. As the fight goes on, the Gelatinnoth mother will turn red, at which point you'll want to attack with fire spells, and finally green, at which point you'll want to swap to your ranged weapon and attack with ranged. Again, keep an eye on your health at all times. After green, the Gelatinnoth mother will return back to being white in color and continue rotating through the colors in the same order, with you needing to swap how you attack it respectively. Before too long, you'll hopefully defeat the Gelatinnoth mother, after which you'll want to exit the white portal. And now there's just one fight left. Now we're going to get ready for the 6th and final fight against the Culinaromancer, who is comparatively easy compared to the bosses that came before him. This guy is weak to literally everything and just has 150 hit points. This being said, he attacks with melee and magic. Notably, his magic attack that he pretty much always uses has a max hit of 25 and additionally a flat 1 in 3 chance of hitting. Because of this, you can really use whatever combat style you like against the Culinaromancer. However, it's worth knowing that he only attacks you when you're within melee range of him. If you're at all worried about his attacks, then you might want to opt for a similar strategy to Flambeed, where you bring your best magic spell as well as snares so that you can safely whittle down the Culinaromancer from a distance. Armour isn't overly important thanks to the nature of the Culinaromancer's attacks having a flat 33% chance to hit, so wear whatever gives you the best attacking bonus that matches your combat style of choice. Once you're geared up, ensure that you've got your runes for any spells you plan on using, or alternatively ammo if using ranged. Then fill the rest of your inventory with relevant combat boosting potions, a heap of food and your emergency teleport, and then you're good to go. For this fight, equip your combat gear and weapon of choice, drink any relevant combat boosting potions, and then enter through the white portal. Once inside, the Culinaromancer will path towards you and attack you. You can just stand next to him and fight, with the boss having a max hit of 25 and a flat 33% chance of hitting you. Provided you have a full inventory of food, this likely won't be a problematic fight. If you're using magic and you want to play it safe, then you can alternatively snare the Culinaromancer before putting distance between you and him and attacking him with magic. As long as the Culinaromancer isn't in melee range, he won't hit you at all, and this is a super easy way to defeat him with very minimal risk. Before too long, you'll defeat the Culinaromancer, after which his head will casually explode and desserts will flow out everywhere. After a small cutscene takes place, you'll end up outside the white portal before BAM! Quest complete. You'll be awarded a 20,000 experience lamp that can be used on any skill over 50, full access to the Culinaromancer's chest including the Barrows gloves, and 1 quest point. Congrats on completing Recipe for Disaster. Now go buy some Barrows gloves from the Culinaromancer's chest. Thanks so much for watching, catch you in the next quest.